Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Natalia Lee and I'm the author of a few novels for young adults, the most recent being the cozy contemporary fantasy, Song of the Dryad. Today I am finally sitting down and doing a sit-down video where I'm talking to you guys about something, and today's something is pen names. So I haven't talked a whole lot about this, I don't think. I've certainly spoken to some people about this, but I'm having a very difficult time deciding if I want to use a pen name for my Pistol Daisy series. I, at first, wanted nothing to do with using a different name, and then I realized, oh, Pistol Daisy is so wildly different from the other content I've written, and I want to do indie publishing, and I want to do it right, so I 100% have to use a pen name. And that was about maybe a month or so ago that I decided that, and now today, at the very end of August 2019, I'm swinging back into the camp of I don't want to use a different name for Pistol Daisy. Granted, I know that business-wise, it's probably a really good decision, but I feel like there are a lot of variables kind of going into making a decision like this. So what I'm going to do is use that whiteboard back there, and I'm going to write down a bunch of pros and cons about using a pen name, why I would want to, why I wouldn't, and maybe it'll help me make my decision. I have a feeling that it won't, but having everything written down will definitely help me mull over it a bit more, and I'm also hoping that it'll help any of you out there who are trying to decide if you should go with a pen name or not. So I'm going to shift our setting around here a little bit so that you can see me writing on that whiteboard more clearly. All right, so here on the board, on the left side it says I should use a pen name because, and then on the right side it says I shouldn't use a pen name because. So, I'm sorry if the lighting isn't good here. I'm afraid to turn on my big ring light because I have a feeling it's going to be super reflective off of this board, and I don't want that to be reflecting on you. There, this needs to pick up my face instead of the white behind me. So, why should or shouldn't I use a pen name? Let me move this a little bit. I don't want to sit on my knees because it hurts. Okay, so again, this is I should use one because, and I shouldn't use one because. So let's start with why a pen name is a good idea for me. I guess the first reason would be, okay, so the first reason I wrote down is Pistol Daisy is not fantasy, and it's way different from the other books I've written, which is totally true. So Highborn was the first book I wrote, and it definitely has fantasy elements in it. Absolutely. It's not like high fantasy, but it is fantasy. Way of Spears, again, I kind of based it off of a fantasy world, and I call it fantasy, but it doesn't have big magic or anything, which maybe it's not fantasy. Maybe it's just adventural. Doesn't matter nowadays. And then, of course, Song of the Dryad is definitely fantasy, has fairies and fairy magic, and it's young adult, but kind of leaning toward the middle grade audience, certainly a younger young adult audience. So those three are all very different, I guess, from each other. And the only reason I think that I'm able to sell those three together is because I'm here on YouTube, and if somebody knows just me, then they might be interested in buying the books rather than just finding the books on Amazon, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So those three books are way different from Pistol Daisy. Pistol Daisy is historical fiction. It is like an action-adventure historical fiction, and I am still, honestly, trying to decide if this is young adult, new adult, adult. Actually, it's definitely not adult. I think I said in the past, oh, this is an adult book, but I don't think it is because Daisy's 19 years old. I feel like I don't write with an adult voice. I don't know, it just doesn't feel adult to me, so I'm definitely thinking it's either young adult or new adult, which again, if I publish this as new adult, that's not the same as my other books. My other books are all young adult. They're all very young adult friendly, especially Song of the Dryad, and Pistol Daisy right now there is not a lot of excessive gory violence. There are no sex scenes in it, no graphic sex, anything like that. So I feel like that would definitely make it a new adult genre, and it doesn't have that. I feel like the only thing it has that could kind of make it new adult is a bit more adult themes, definitely bad language, Wild West style, and Daisy is 19 years old. She was originally 17, and then I bumped her up to 19. Granted, I could change that if I want to, like it's not a big deal. And I'm struggling because I don't know if it's young adult or new adult. And I feel like as the series goes on and Daisy grows a bit more, it'll definitely become slightly more mature as she is maturing and she's going through more adult things. But then I also think Hunger Games was young adult, and that was kids killing kids in an arena. Lord of the Flies, I believe, is classified as young adult. 13 Reasons Why, young adult, I think is what it's classified as. Like, I feel like young adult is an incredibly difficult genre to peg down because there isn't one specific thing that makes it young adult. Like, you have characters of different ages, you have characters going through, you know, different things, different themes, different types of books. So it's difficult. But I do think that if I cleaned up the language in Pistol Daisy and I cleaned up some of the really bad language that I use, I think it could definitely be more young adult friendly. But again, Wild West historical fiction is not fantasy. So that's definitely one reason why I would want to use a pen name, is because of that. However, now I'm going to add a reason why I would not want to use a pen name, which is... This is funny how I'm doing this. So what I wrote there is, I don't want to write historical fiction forever. And this is tough because I think if you... I can't speak for everybody, but the incredibly successful indie authors that I have seen and that I know and that I've spoken with, they tend to write in one genre or in a couple of genres that are incredibly close to each other so that they have crossover for their audience. Like maybe you write fantasy, like fantasy romance and paranormal romance. Those could definitely have crossover. But historical fiction doesn't really have much crossover with fantasy. It depends on who you are. I like reading and writing both. I like reading across a lot of different genres, but not everybody does. But the thing is, let's say I decided to use a pen name for Pistol Daisy, and maybe I write 4, 5, 6 books in this series. I'm hoping for 6, but I don't have it outlined yet, so we'll see when the story is complete. Let's say I write 6 books in the Pistol Daisy series and I publish them under N. Lee or N.A. Lee, because that's probably the direction I would go if I was going to choose a different pen name to write under. It would probably just be a variation of my name, Natalia Lee, because, again, getting ahead of myself. Anyway, if I were to write under a pen name, let's just say N. Lee, and I published 6 Pistol Daisy books, which are Wild West historical fiction, what if I don't want to write any more historical fiction after that? What if I'm like, okay, I'm done. I want to write about a witchy boarding school now because I love witchy things. I love paranormal. I love fantasy. I love boarding school fiction. Like, I want to write that. I want to write about vampires. I want to write about so many different types of characters, and I don't want to lock myself into historical fiction. So let's say I publish 6 books under N. Lee, and then I vanish. I just disappear because I'm not publishing any more books under historical fiction at that time. It might take me 5 years to want to return to historical fiction, so that pen name, N. Lee, would go totally dead. It would go quiet. And one of the important aspects of indie publishing is regularly publishing. Like whether that's every 2 months, whether it's every 6 months for you, publishing as much as you can, publishing high quality fiction as often as you can. And I don't think it would be a very good decision to have Natalia Lee and N. Lee and have one dead. Like, okay, I'm not writing historical fiction, N. Lee is totally dead and silent, and there's not even crickets chirping, versus, okay, right now I'm writing Pistol Daisy for the next maybe year, 2 years, so Natalia Lee is totally dead. Nothing's happening, not gaining any new readership, nothing. That doesn't seem very smart to me. Like having multiple names with one of them just constantly dead and no new books being uploaded and published seems like a bad choice. Because I don't want to write historical fiction forever. Like I'm really inspired and excited about Daisy's story, and I'm going to continue writing it and working really hard. But after I'm done with her story, maybe I want to write the second book in the Song of the Dryad duology. Maybe I want to write a boarding school. Like, I don't know. And that makes it really difficult to decide if I need a pen name or not. Let's add something else to the list. What was it that I was going to say? I shouldn't use a pen name. Let's do another I should use a pen name because... Okay, the next thing I just added to why I should use one is because it's the professional indie publishing thing to do. Again, like I mentioned, the professional, really serious indie authors that I know and that I have been following and spoken to personally tend to use either multiple names and then they write all their, specific fiction under those pen names, or they use one name and they write only within a couple of genres that work together. So it's definitely the more professional way to go in terms of making money indie publishing. And I was talking to Greg about this the other day. We had a very long conversation about this because I'm struggling to decide what to do. The professional thing to do, the business thing to do to make money would probably be to have a pen name, N. Lee, for historical fiction. But then that ties back into the fact that I don't always want to write historical fiction. I'm interested in it right now, and then in a couple years I might not be interested anymore. So I feel like if I were to ask some professional indie authors, they would probably tell me to use a pen name. In fact, I've spoken to Sarah Cannon about this. I talked briefly to Courtney from the Courtney Project about this, and both of them kind of recommended, now this is just kind of paraphrasing, they kind of recommended okay, use a pen name for a wildly different genre and then stick with that genre and write a lot of books in that genre, because that's how you make money. That's how you become a professional indie publisher, making enough money to support yourself, to pay your rent and to buy your vegan food, or to buy my vegan food at least. And I think that's that makes total sense. That's a really good decision. But I've wondered lately, how serious do I want to be about making a living writing books? What I have been learning about myself recently is that if I focus really hard on just creating things, let's say I tried to make writing my full-time job, I think I get overwhelmed quickly because creativity is not something that just stays at maximum capacity. It's not something that I just wake up with in the morning and I'm like, oh yes, I just had a full night's sleep and I'm totally refilled and rejuvenated and ready to write again. It doesn't really happen that way. Sometimes I need to take a month off. Sometimes I need to take 6 weeks off. I need to do something different because I can't force myself to be creative all the time. And on the other side of that coin is copy editing and working for this publishing company. Those are the main two jobs I'm doing right now. I still have pet sitting, but that's mostly been moved to Greg. He's doing the bulk of that right now. So the majority of my income is kind of coming from copy editing right now. And I love copy editing, and it's a logical thing. It uses the other side of my brain. It doesn't use the creative side. It uses the logical thinking side. And I can definitely rejuvenate, get a full night's sleep, wake up in the morning, and be ready to jump back into that work. And I feel like that's something that could support me long term. The better I get at copy editing, the more clients that I have, the more I build Enchanted Ink Publishing, which is my business. I feel like I could make a full-time income on that, and I feel like it would not drain me and it would not overwhelm me. I wouldn't be spreading myself too thin. So in the back of my mind, I'm kind of thinking, do I really want to put pressure on myself to make a full-time income writing books? And I used to think so. I used to think absolutely that's the dream, is to just write books, make a living, and have an animal rescue sanctuary. And in a way, that's still the dream. I certainly want to stay home writing books and save as many animals as I can. But at the same time, things change and you learn new things about yourself. And I've kind of learned that I don't want to force myself to write every day. And I don't want to force myself to publish a new book every 3 months, because that's what you have to do in indie publishing in order to stay relevant and to continue selling books. And that's how Amazon works. And I'm kind of being generalized here. You know, maybe it's not every 3 months, maybe it's every 6 weeks, maybe it's every 6 months. Like, everybody does it a little bit differently. But generally what I've heard is if you want to be super successful at indie publishing, you have to be publishing a lot of books regularly and on a schedule so that you're not letting down your readers and they keep coming back for more. And I don't think I can do that. Could I force myself? Yes. I think most of us can force ourselves to do a lot of things, even if it's not good for us. And that's what I learned last year, like over the course of the past 2 years, working on Song of the Dryad, working on YouTube, you know, doing an insane amount of pet sitting to pay all my bills. I was so overwhelmed and working so much that I developed extreme anxiety. I've had anxiety my whole life, and it got really, really bad over the past 2 years, like to the point where I didn't even want to go into a grocery store. I didn't want to shower. I didn't want to put on clothes. I just wanted to like stay in my pajamas, stay at the house in my glasses and not have to go anywhere. And it was really unhealthy for me. And now I've arrived at a point where I am healthier. My anxiety is better than it's ever been. I'm making phone calls almost every day for this job with a publishing company, which is something that terrified me for years since I was a child. I even used to struggle to call like the pizza guy when I was a kid. So what I've learned is that through structuring my days a little bit better, through giving myself time off, relaxing on weekends, you know, shutting the laptop at 5 or 6 in the evenings and giving myself time to just do nothing, it's way healthier for me. It's way better for me mentally. And I work on Pistol Daisy when I can. This week, I'm working on it pretty diligently because I've been kind of given an extremely exciting opportunity. It might not work out, but I want to make sure that I'm hitting deadlines for this opportunity just in case, because it would be absolutely amazing if this thing happened with Pistol Daisy. But more about that in a different video. Essentially what I'm getting at here is using different pen names for different fiction would certainly be the professional thing to do, but I don't know if I want to be a professional indie author is what I'm getting at. And that's kind of a scary thing to say because I've wanted to be a professional, but I don't know if I want to force and push myself to make a full-time income writing creatively. I've learned that when you take something creative and you put like a price tag on it and you turn it into just money, it becomes a hell of a lot less fun. And I want writing to be fun and to be magical still, while also making me money when I'm ready to publish. So I'm going to write this down under why I should not use a pen name. What I wrote down is I might not want this to be my full-time job. And that's not to say that I don't take my work seriously, because I do. I take my work very seriously. I'm very proud of everything that I do, and I've worked my ass off at it. I've worked really hard. But maybe I don't want to be a full-time indie author. Maybe I want to work for this publishing company and be a copy editor, grow Enchanted Ink Publishing, start publishing other people's fiction, and work on my fiction when I want to and when it works for me. And that feels a whole lot better than trying to force myself to work creatively and to be a full-time author. So if I don't want to be a full-time author, why do I need to do the professional thing? Why do I need to do the business thing if I don't really want to make writing my whole business? Let's write another thing under why I shouldn't, which is I already had 2 covers designed. I had the Pistol Daisy cover designed with all of the promotional information or material. And I also had the book cover and promotional material made for book 2. And those all say Natalia Lee. So if I want them changed, it's going to cost me money. And I've already talked to my cover designer. They said that they'd be happy to do this for me, but it's going to take them time. They have to change a whole lot of files. And it would cost me about $100, in addition to what I've already paid to get my files changed to N. Lee or N.A. Lee. And I don't want to pay that. I mean, it's that simple. I've already paid good money for these covers and they turned out beautifully, and I don't really want to shell out additional money just to have my name changed. So I talked to my cover designer at the very end of July about this, and they told me to just let them know when I'm ready and when I know exactly what I want to do. They've been incredibly wonderful to work with, and I'll be making a video about them kind of later on, just to talk about who they are and why I recommend them. I'm not using 8 Little Pages this time. I used them for Song of the Dryad and they were amazing, but I'm not using them for Pistol Daisy. But I don't want to pay more money to have to do that. I just really, really don't. I also got a Library of Congress control number for Pistol Daisy already, and that's registered to Natalia Lee. And I don't know if I can change that now. Granted, it doesn't cost money, it just takes my time and effort, so that's not a big deal. And then my ISBN, I bought a bulk amount of ISBNs. I have 10 of them. I used 3 for Song of the Dryad, so I have 7 left. And I'll use 2 per Pistol Daisy book. And I have not registered those yet to Pistol Daisy, so I can still change the name from Natalia Lee if I need to, like in the program. So that's still okay. It's just, I don't want to have to pay additional money to have like 10, 15 files changed. That takes more time. Like it's just something that I don't want to go through. So that's another reason why I shouldn't use it. Let's try to come up with another reason why I should, I guess. I'm struggling to come up with another reason why, because I feel like a lot of my reasons go with those 2 things, which all ties back to money. And I want to make money off my books because I spend a lot of time working on them and I spend money working on them. And artists, I think, deserve money for the art that they create for other people, whether you're writing a book, filming, an indie movie, producing music, whatever it is. I think it's good to pay artists for the things that they provide us with, but these things are both monetary, they're financial. Pistol Daisy is not fantasy and it's way different from my other books, so maybe I confuse readers. Maybe a reader picks up Pistol Daisy and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this, and then they pick up Song of the Dryad and they're like, what the heck? This has nothing, this has nothing in common with Pistol Daisy. I'm not going to read this author anymore, so I lose money. Professional business thing to do to make money. So this really, using a pen name is money. Which is interesting that I kind of just came to this conclusion. Money and business. That's exactly what it is. If you want to make a full-time income or a really good income writing books, you need to think about the money and you need to think about the business. And I don't know if I want to think about that. For years, I thought I really wanted to, and I thought, I'm going to make all this money being a full-time indie author, but now it's like, I don't know if I want that. I don't know. I love what I've been doing. I love copy editing. I love working for the publishing company when my authors are nice to me, because sometimes authors can be a little bit picky. I really enjoy it. I love it. And then I love being able to work on Pistol Daisy when I'm ready and when I have time and when I have the energy and the emotional stability to be working on it. I don't want to have to push myself to publish every 6 weeks. It is not healthy for me. And I've seen a lot of other indie authors struggling with it too, struggling with guilt, struggling with this feeling of I'm letting everybody down, and I don't need that shit in my life. I have enough guilt that I've been working through since I was a child, and I've worked with my counselor about it, and I don't need that added to my life. So money and business is the main reason for me to use a different pen name. I shouldn't use a pen name because I don't want to have to create multiple social media platforms. Granted, if I was using N. Lee or N.A. Lee, I could link everything back to Natalia Lee, so I wouldn't have to make a ton of differences there. But I do not want another website. I do not want another Twitter, another Instagram. That's too much. I already struggle as is to maintain my stuff and my Enchanted Ink publishing stuff. I cannot be handling more of this. And what I just wrote there is, how many will I need? So I have young adult fantasy. I have a potentially young adult or new adult historical fiction Wild West story. What if I want to write an adult paranormal vampire book? Or I want to write a new adult witchy boarding school? Do I use a new pen name for every single genre I want to write under? Because that's the professional thing to do if you want to make money. But I don't want to do that. Like, There are so many things I want to write, and I have spoken to other authors, indie authors, about this whole split between creative freedom and making money. I want to have creative freedom. Freedom has always been really, really important to me in my life. I have had my own business for years, and when I was younger, I struggled incredibly to get along with bosses and to do what I was told in jobs where people were paying me. And I have never been good with it. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like feeling limited in any way or controlled in any way. And this whole thing, and the whole thing about like, if you want to make money as an indie author, you better choose a pen name and stick to that genre. I understand it. I get it. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to feel like, okay, I now have N. Lee, you know, that's historical fiction. I have to write historical fiction because I write because I enjoy it, and I write because it's my creative outlet, and I love telling stories. I don't want to write just for money. I want money to be like the cherry on top of my almond milk ice cream, but I don't want money to be the only reason I write because I think it'll ruin it for me. And then what happens? I become a full-time indie author. I don't have any other money coming in. I decide, okay, I don't want to write historical fiction anymore, and then I lose all my income? That doesn't sound good. That sounds pretty shitty to me. What else is there to talk about with this? Let's just add this random one. That says I don't want to, because generally I don't want to use a pen name for Pistol Daisy. I want to just write everything as Natalia Lee because that's who I am. And, you know, I've talked to, like I said, I've talked to Sarah Cannon about this. I've talked to Courtney about this. I talked to Brooke and Mandy about it. And I think I'm going to talk with them a little bit more tomorrow on Friday before our live stream or even during the live stream to try to figure out what the heck to do. But I don't want another pen name. I don't want multiple names. I don't want Natalia Lee, N.A. Lee, N. Lee, and Ann Lee. Like, I don't want a million names that I have to try to keep up with for all the different fiction that I want to write. It's just, it's not fun for me. So wow, looking at this list, it's really clear to me that choosing a pen name is for money and business, but I don't want to. I want to have creative freedom. I want to write whatever the hell I want, when I want to write it, and I'll be incredibly excited when people buy my book and review the book and enjoy the characters in the story, but I don't want to have to focus my whole writing career on money and business. So, after doing this was incredibly helpful. This was more helpful than I thought it was going to be, because right now, sitting here looking at this, I'm thinking, to hell with it, I am not going to choose a pen name to use for Pistol Daisy. So, what do you guys think? Let me, okay, so, looking at this, I'm thinking I don't want to use a pen name. And I want to know what you guys think, because this is something that many authors, I think, will go through, and it's a difficult decision to make. So the whole reason for putting out this video was not only to work through it for myself, which is incredibly important and I need to do, but it's also because we're in a community of writers and we can help each other and we can discuss the business of writing and the community, and it's just important to me to be able to talk to others about it because we're friends here, we help each other, and it makes me feel really good. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Please let me know in the comments down below. And I'd also like to know your thoughts. Do you want to use a pen name? Do you want to write all of your fiction, no matter what it is, under one name? I don't know. I guess a different reason to use a pen name that doesn't really apply to me is if you're writing some sort of content that you don't want people in your personal life to know about. Maybe you're writing erotic fiction and you'd rather keep that separated from your personal life. That's a really good reason to write under a pen name, or, you know, there could be other reasons why you might want to use one, but they just don't apply to me right now. Yeah, those don't apply to me. I'm not writing erotic fiction. I'm not writing anything that I feel like I need to hide from anybody, but that could be another reason to do it. So thank you guys for joining me for this half-hour long video. I'm back. I'm back with my super long sit-down videos. So I guess that's all I have for you today. Thank you much. So blah, 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 blah. You can tell I haven't done this in a while. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys being here and kind of accompanying me on this journey. I will have a vlog out either before this or after this. If it's up, it'll probably be up there. Who knows? All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in my next video. Remember to comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this and what you want to do. All right. Bye, everybody.